Anderson Cooper, AC 360, CNN weeknights 10 Eastern.
What do you think of Christina O'Donnell? Do you think she can win?
Oh, sure. I think she can win. I think she's going to have to work very hard. That she has the roughest job of all the Tea Party candidates because she's in a more liberal state. She has a much more difficult job than my son has, say, in Kentucky, or Angle has in Nevada. So no, but she can win. There's a lot of unhappiness in this country, and for that reason, the numbers are just coming together. The Democrats are disillusioned; they're not going to show up. The Republicans are, and the Tea Party people are added on to the Republicans because a lot of them haven't been involved before. They're independents, and it adds to it. It isn't taking away from the Republican. If you have a Republican base, the Tea Party people add on to it. That's why she has a very good chance.
So the Democrats tonight who are saying, "Oh wow, this is great for the Democratic Party," you think they're maybe measuring the drapes too early?
Well, if I talk to Republicans and they sound a little too cocky, that's what I tell them, because I don't think anybody should get, they should wait and see. They should always run. I used to run track, and I always assumed somebody was going to step on me if I didn't keep running. So I think that's the way it is in politics. You ought to keep running and not assume that you can glide to victory.
Yeah, it's not over till it's over. A number of Tea Party activists who I've talked to in the last couple of days and before this primary were saying, well, look, even if she can't win, it's still important that she won, and we don't really care if she can't win. It's important to make a point. It's important to vote your principles. Do you think that's true, or do you think it's more important to get a safe Republican seat in the Senate?
Well, I think both is true. I think the fact that she won is very important. We should be glad about that. But also, you should go for the winning. But I guess you're suggesting that, well, if you knew she couldn't win, therefore
right,
you should cop out and bend your principles. Well, I'm not one that would endorse that very easily, because my goal in life has been to nudge people over to a more principled position, whether it has to do with foreign policy or civil liberties or economic policy. So that's always been my goal. So I think winning along with those goals and those principles, of course, is the ideal situation.
Is there room in the Republican Party today for a Mike Castle, what someone call a moderate Republican, or what some in the Tea Party would say is just a liberal Republican, or a Democrat who just calls himself a Republican? But I mean, is there room for a Mike Castle in the Republican Party today?
Sure. It probably depends on the state, but it's going to be much tougher because we live in revolutionary times. What we're witnessing today is change coming from the grassroots. I have noticed over the many years that presidential candidates always campaign on change, and they never get it. But change, real change, only comes philosophically from the grassroots, when the people endorse certain views or condemn certain views. And that's what's happening this time. And this only happens once, maybe in 2 or 3 lifetimes.
And you really believe this is a revolutionary time, that this is
Oh yeah, because but it's economics. I see everything in terms of economic policies, and that's what drives everybody. That's what makes people so angry and upset. You think if there were no economic problems, this would be going on? But this is the end of Keynesianism. Keynesianism has been with us for 70 years, and it's failing. And even the liberals know it's failing. It's sort of like a revolutionary end of an age with the downfall of the Soviet system. It finally just didn't work. You didn't have to fight them anymore. It didn't come from the leaders. It came from the grassroots. And that's what's happening right now. The grassroots knows that government fails. Even today, statistics says hardly anybody trusts the government anymore. And good reason.
But what about,
it doesn't function. It doesn't have the right system anymore.
What, there are those who say, well, look, what about actually getting things done in Washington? I mean, that compromise is essential in politics, that no matter what, you need at some point to compromise with someone on the other side of the aisle, or someone even within your own party to affect change. Do you think that's true? And if so, do you think these new voices, some of those who have been elected by the Tea Party and their supporters, do you think they're going to be willing to compromise on things?
Well, I don't think we have to compromise. I think you build coalitions. I work a lot with the Democrats on foreign policy and civil liberties, so I think coalitions are very good. But compromise, yes. If I want to eliminate the income tax and the other side wants to reduce it 50%, I would say, well, if it's reduced 50%, that's not bad. That's a good compromise. But if somebody else wants to double your taxes and somebody says, well, let's not double, let's just increase it by 25%. No, I don't deal with those kind of compromise. Always compromise with people in your goals, which to me is perfecting liberty, increasing individual liberty and the free marketplace. When you compromise moving in that direction and working with coalitions, that's quite a bit different. But if you work coalitions, and, I've worked with with the various ones like Barney Frank and Dennis Kucinich and others in trying to promote an agenda. And this is seen as compromise. It's not exactly compromise, but I think the people in the country see this as good because you can work together and find out what you agree on. I think the war issue is a great issue, and you know, the Federal Reserve has been something. I had tremendous support from Democrats. I had 320 members of Congress sign on to that bill. So that is what I think is important, but I didn't have to compromise my principles.
As a sitting member of Congress, though, given the anger that's out there, I mean, obviously you have a lot of support among and sort of, you know, a lot of credit among Tea Party activists. But do you think some Republican congresspeople are concerned about being seen as too moderate, as being seen as too willing to compromise?
By the Tea Party people,
yeah.
You mean? Yeah, I think that's it. But I just think that we're moving in the right direction. I think the most magnificent thing is that this revolution is going on and the people have discovered it. And they're not blaming the average citizen. They're blaming Washington. That's why Republicans and Democrats are losing. But the most important thing for me is having something to say or having some influence on what the message should be. Right now, the message is Washington has messed up and we have to do something. They spend too much money. Government is too big. We have to reduce the size and scope of government. But then on the finer points is where the discussion is going on. And I don't like the idea of having one kingpin either, dictating what everybody believes in. I think it should be grassroots, and that is good. But in my modest way, what I'll try to do is get the Tea Party people to think about, you can't cut back spending if you don't think about foreign policy and bringing troops home and ending endless war, you know, and we should, as conservatives, be concerned about civil liberties. Those are the kind of things that are very important to me, and the grassroots in the Tea Party movements are very open to that, even though I would admit they don't all agree with that, because a lot of other Republicans now have gotten involved, and they want it to be the old Republican agenda. And the Tea Party people don't like that, and they can see through this. And the one thing is, if some of these people get elected and they don't do as is expected, if they keep voting for big government and more taxes, they're going to be held accountable this go around.